Our mobility worldwide highly depends on the use of fossil energy. About 95% of all energy used in mobility is fossil-based. The burning of fossil fuel adds fossil carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. The levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere will keep increasing as long as society keeps using fossil-based energy. The natural carbon dioxide cycle of the planet is out of balance. We should reduce new carbon in the system by introducing of new technologies, such as technologies based on renewable electricity, recycle carbon as much as possible, and use renewable carbon sources instead of fossil sources. That is why we need sustainably produced biofeedstocks to replace the fossil carbon in materials, chemical products and fuels. The processes for producing, refining and making green fuels and green chemistry are closely connected. Renewable fuels are green chemistry. That's why the uptake of renewable fuels and the concept of recycling carbon are important drivers to reduce the climate impact of the chemical industry. Most economic sectors in Europe have found their way to start decreasing their climate impact, decreasing their emissions of fossil carbon dioxide. Except for the mobility sector, that still sees its emissions rising. This figure shows emissions in the 5 large economic sectors in Europe. Have a look at the orange line, still rising. These are the emissions caused by transport. There is a clear set of principles to keep in mind. Foremost, avoid the number of kilometers you need to travel. Increase the efficiency of the drivetrains of vehicles. We know that on passenger and light-duty vehicles, the electric drivetrain is more efficient. Making a strong case to stimulate the increase of electric vehicles will help. However, long-haul distance road transport, shipping or aviation will need high-density energy carriers. Otherwise, an awful lot of space is required for having enough battery capacity on board, leaving not enough space for cargo to be carried along. Take a look at the battery stack required for heavy-duty, above 2-ton trucks. Fuels, either liquid or gaseous, have a very high energy density compared with the current battery chemistry. The third principle is to change the fossil energy by renewable energy, and that implies using green electricity or using renewable fuels. This module looks into renewable fuels for combustion engines in mobility, such as heavy-duty road transport, shipping and aviation. To date, fossil fuels are cheaper than renewable fuels, and these mineral oils will remain cheaper as long as the cost of the fossil CO2 emissions are not included in their price. And this situation might change with the introduction of an effective price on fossil carbon emissions. If you compare the prices at a petrol station, you will see that fossil products are cheaper than the renewable fuels. Although, luckily, green gas is already cheaper than fossil petrol or diesel. So for now, the market for renewable fuels is created with regulation. In Europe, the European Renewable Energy Directive obliges every European member state to reach targets for renewable energy in transport, and that will grow to at least 14% in 2030. In the Netherlands, these obliged targets are even higher due to the climate agreement that has been reached in 2019. In the Netherlands, the target now proposed is 27.1% in 2030. International shipping and aviation are not part of these obliged targets. However, these sectors are working on their own obligations for renewable energy and lowering the climate impact. In the Netherlands, it is agreed to introduce an obliged target for renewable kerosene in 2030, preferably a European-wide, but if others don't join, then the Netherlands have agreed to do it alone. The proposed target there is 14% in 2030. That's about 25 petajoules of sustainable aviation fuels in 2030 for the Netherlands. The International Maritime Organization has agreed upon an absolute reduction of 50% of the emissions by 2050. Although that target has not yet translated into obligation for renewable marine fuels, it is expected that these will be introduced in the upcoming decade. From this, we can conclude that the renewable fuels for heavy transport are a growth market, both in the Netherlands and also in all European member states. And therefore, I invite you to join this transition and learn more about renewable fuels.